I'm a student enrolled in a behaviour modification unit, and I'd like to explore with you how to quit smoking and stay quit using behaviour modification principles and procedures. So first off, you want to identify what the antecedent conditions are, and this is really what gives rise to smoking or what triggers the smoking behaviour. So this might be being around friends that smoke or being confronted with a stressful situation. Then you want to determine what the consequences of your behaviour are. So this might be that you feel it relaxes you and this reinforces the behaviour. A really good way to identify the antecedents and consequences is by using self-monitoring techniques. One way of doing this is to record the amount of cigarettes that you smoke each day for a week. And this determines your baseline data, and essentially the baseline data is your normal smoking behaviour. So the baseline is essentially just recording your usual smoking behaviour, and you can record the data on a form such as this one, including the categories date, time, location, who was present, what you were doing before smoking a cigarette, how you felt before smoking, how you felt after, and other comments relevant to triggers and consequences of smoking. So as I mentioned, you want to capture the event or trigger that keeps you smoking. And what's fascinating about this is that you might see patterns emerge. So the location, who you were with when you were smoking, social situations, being nervous, anxious or stressed, feeling tired, that it's part of your ritual or routine, and withdrawal, and that's just to name a few. It's also worthwhile writing up a list of pros and cons, and I feel that a balance sheet is an excellent tool for exploring consequences. So here is an example of a balance sheet, and what you do is write up a list of pros and cons for both stopping smoking and smoking. So pros of stopping might include improved self-efficacy and self-esteem, and cons might be anxiety. Pros of smoking might be reduced stress from ending withdrawal, and cons might be feeling that you lack self-control. Basically, when you undertake these activities, you're conducting an assessment to determine what triggers you to smoke and what the consequences of this behaviour are. So what you may find is that you smoke generally when negative feelings arise, or perhaps you smoke socially, or perhaps you smoke just to put an end to the feeling of withdrawal, or perhaps it's even positive when you're celebrating an event. It's important to pinpoint exactly what it is that's occurring for you so that you can find the right adaptive behaviour to replace the maladaptive behaviour of smoking. That is, that smoking serves a function, and you need to find a more healthful adaptive behaviour to serve that same function. Otherwise, you're left with a gaping hole, and you may find that you return to smoking 6 months down the track or even tomorrow. So now on to the exciting stuff, the intervention. If you want to quit smoking, it's important to set the quit date. Once you figure out your baseline data, you can work out the average number of cigarettes that you're smoking a day, and you can realistically decide how you want to reduce the amount that you're smoking. So if you're smoking 10 a day, you may want to reduce to 8 and smoke 8 per day for a week, and then reduce it to 6, and so on until you reach your ideal target of 0. And during these weeks, you'll be wanting to record how many cigarettes you are smoking a day to ensure that you're meeting your goals, or to work out if you need to reassess your plan. You can use nicotine replacement therapy during this time, or you may want to go cold turkey. The decision is ultimately yours. You may want to discuss this with your GP, and there are plenty of quit sites and information on the internet if you want to evaluate the pros and cons for making that decision. You'll be more likely to succeed if you change antecedent conditions. So reduce alcohol intake or stay away from the usual places that you smoke. You might also want to consider changing the structure of your day. So if usually you wake up in the morning and you have a cigarette, you could consider going for a walk or going to the gym. If you come home from work and have a cigarette, you could have a shower instead. You may also want to change work patterns. So if you know that you have a deadline coming up in a few weeks, ensure that you're really organised to reduce the likelihood of major stresses. Another thing to take into account is to change the way that you think or that you respond to negative effect. So when something negative arises, you may want to say to yourself, smoking is not going to help me. I'm no longer dependent on nicotine, and I am determined to address stress through more adaptive behaviours. In the next section, I'm going to break down some behaviour modification procedures that you can use. The first is differential reinforcement of alternative behaviour, and this is essentially using alternative healthful behaviours to assist in extinguishing the unhealthful behaviour of smoking. And these might include meditation, mindfulness, and urge surfing. Another procedure you can use is a variation of differential reinforcement of alternative behaviour, and this is differential reinforcement of incompatible behaviour. And while it's a bit of a mouthful, essentially it means engaging in an activity like exercise, which is incompatible with smoking. You can also use positive reinforcement strategies. So this could include from something as small as to ticking off each calendar day and keeping that calendar near you so you can see the progress that you're making and the achievement day to day. Or it could be to something much more substantial, such as a weekend away after achieving large milestones like a month of not smoking. Social reinforcement is also a really good strategy to use, and this would include telling close friends and family about your plan, your progress, and asking them for support when you need it. So if you're having a really rough day, you could send them a text or give them a call and say, look, I really want to have a cigarette, but I am trying to quit. And they can say, you don't need it, you're doing really well, keep going. Think about having a relapse plan in place. If problems arise, try to approach them with problem-solving strategies. For instance, you might find that you used exercise as an alternative behaviour, and this was good for withdrawal symptoms, but then it didn't quite seem to fill the whole of the maladaptive behaviour. So you want to approach the problem from a positive mind frame. Think of it as an opportunity to use what you've learnt. So you may find that you want to expand your coping strategies by using breathing exercises or meditation. It's important to recognise that while we want to avoid lapses, we need to have some compassion for ourselves and to forgive ourselves for the lapse so that we can move on in an effective way to reaching our goal. A final tip for incorporating mindfulness: try to observe the craving and negative effect without reacting to it and without judgment. So accepting the experience as it is and recognising that it's impermanent. The feeling will not kill you and it will pass. Also try to incorporate a whole system approach. So using exercise, using social support, using positive reinforcements, changing the antecedent conditions, using hand manipulation, using meditation. Incorporating all of these approaches will assist in contributing to your success and maintaining your success. Best of luck.